Good to see you, Jonathan. Are you in Paris or somewhere in France today?
Yeah, I'm in Paris. Good to see you too, Alex. Been a while now. 5 years we know each other.
Yeah. It's been a while. We haven't been able to see each other in Dublin this year, which is very sad. It's probably once a year we get to kind of catch up with everybody at SaaS in Dublin, and we haven't been able to do that this year. But at least we have Hop In, and we were able to do it. Although it's not quite the same, but it does serve its benefits. And so appreciate you, Jonathan, taking time out today to share with our SaaS Engage members. So actually, there's two things that we're doing today. We're obviously having this live conversation with the members and having the chat around scaling sales teams. We're also recording this episode, and we're going to publish it for the SaaS Revolution Show podcast, which we also have been producing for the last 5 years. And so the wider audience will get to listen to the podcast and watch it, I think, on YouTube as well. Just for those that will be listening to the podcast and not seeing it live and just wondering what SaaS Engage is. It's an annual membership for SaaS founders to get all the benefits of SaaS 365 days a year, place to connect online with your peers, to watch weekly strategic content from experts like Jonathan, as we are today, to meet with investors and supercharge your growth. So for the first time, I'll be saying welcome to the SaaS Engage and the SaaS Revolution show, Jonathan Anguelov. And Jonathan.
Yes.
So tell the audience a little bit about yourself and a little bit about that founding story of Aircall.
Yeah, of course. So hi, everyone. Happy to see that we have quite a few people connected. So yeah, I'm Jonathan. I'm 34-year-old, one of the co-founders of Aircall. The story is pretty, I feel pretty blessed by what happened for the past 6 years. We started with the idea of revolutionizing the phone system industry and making that simple phone system that any company could use in the world and all disconnected to your business tools, so to your CRM, your help desk, etc. And of course, the few first year were extremely hard. We were not coming from the telco world at all, so we had to learn the hard way, kind of. But things went pretty fast as we went from 1 million AR to 10 million AR in about a year and a half, a bit more than maybe 19 months, something like that. So pretty fast. Things scaled. We had an amazing go-to-market. So we started also with the idea very early to go worldwide and not have like a market, French market. We are 4 French co-founders, started in Paris, but very early we had the ambition to go in the US. So we went in San Francisco in the beginning to build an office there, and then we moved it to New York. But our first customer actually was American, so it showed us the way, kind of. And today we have 85 to 87% of our revenue coming from outside France, and 34% coming from the US only, with an office in New York and Nashville in the US. And so there we are, 6 years later, close to 400 people, hiring about 250 people in 2021, huge ambitions, and just moving fast.
Moving very fast, Jonathan. 1 to 10 million in 19 months or less is great growth. I think a lot of people would love that, and we'll hear more on that next week at the Blueprint event. So you mentioned one of 4 French co-founders. How did you decide which one was going to lead sales?
Who does what, you mean?
Yeah, exactly.
No, very naturally, 2 of my co-founders were tech, so very naturally they went into the tech. My other co-founder, Olivier, was more the financial guy, product guy, and so on, strategy, product, and so on. So he took the lead on that aspect. And I felt more like a sales, and I liked that, which was not the case of my co-founder. So very easily the job was split. Sales was always a natural thing for me, even though I don't believe in the fact that sales is a natural thing in a way that some people are made to be sales. That's wrong. Sales, it's all about the process, and we will talk about it later. But very easily we split the roles, and from day one I was that first sales. Went on my own to something like 200K AR, just on my own. And then we started to hire first interns, then FT, full-time equivalents, to go to the 1 million with 3 sales. Basically, I think we were 3 sales, including myself.
How comes interns at 200K? Just from a cost perspective?
Yeah, we had no cash.
Yeah,
we had no cash. We had to find a way. In France, it's pretty easy to have interns. It's cheaper. You pay them something like 1,000 euro per month, and that's what it costs you, all in all. So it was an easy start to say, okay, we take smart interns that have ambitions, that might stay with us in the future, and we get them to our small process. By the time it was a very nasty, actually, but it worked. We had a good go-to-market strategy, a product that was attractive, even though we had tons of problems in the beginning, especially quality problems, not coming from telcos. You build a telco thing is extremely hard, but still, market was there, traction was there, inbound and outbound, both, and we could make something interesting out of it.
So once you had those initial interns, that you perhaps sort of replaced them, or some of them maybe became full-time team. That's going to, I guess, you've got to scale that sales team, find those sales processes. How did you learn and figure out what to do? At that point. So where did you find out what to do?
There is, of course, 2 stories there. There is the reality that was, and I'm not going to make the storytelling. The reality was, I was not coming from SaaS. None of us was coming from the SaaS industry. So you kind of learn on the ground, read some books, even though I'm not so much a book reader, but read some books to understand how it works, and predictable revenue was there for that. And I understand pretty clearly that to make it successful, a sales team needs to be splitted in different functions. So that's the first. That's very early. That's what we did. But let's say the first year with the interns, we were all full cycles. So when I say full cycle, is really full cycle. It means we were doing the support, the sales, the onboarding, the customer success, everything. I don't advise that. But in the beginning, you have no money, so you do what you can with what you have. And that's what we did. But then I understood, okay, we need to specialize people. It's all about specialization. It's all about being focused, and finally replicate what we learned a century ago with the Fordism, which you split the work to make each person more efficient in its own task. And that's where we started to build really the different function with CITs, so that are in charge of finding the right company that is in our ICP. So that's very junior people that just do research the whole day on databases, on LinkedIn, on whatever, no matter what. They find this ICP. Then we had a team, that same team, that was in charge of finding the right people into their companies. And then you put SDRs that hunt those people. Then you have a marketing function that helps the SDR hunt, but also nurture. And then you have the account executive that are just here to close. And then you have a last step that is customer success. In our case, we have customer success, but also onboarding in between the end of sales and the beginning of the success period, where we try to make sure that each customer has a great experience on Aircall, has the right setup of network, of organization, and so they can scale for growth.
And so was that the roles that you mentioned there, and the specialist roles, was that the team that you built out from 200 to 1 million ARR? Like how many did you have within that sales function to the first million? Because then obviously you imagine from 1 to 10, it was, you scaled that.
Yeah, I mean, we reached the million AR. I remember in December 2016, I think, or 2015 was it? I think it was 2015, December 2015, and we were 4 sales by the time, including me. So very full cycle at that period. And I remember in Jan gathering that we raised our seed round, 2.7 million, and we said, okay, now we're gonna hire people, we're gonna put processes in place, and we're gonna split function. And basically by Jan Feb 2016, we split it by function, and we started to run from 1 million to 10 million AR, which was really a very ambitious objective, was to do it in less than 2 years, which is ambitious. It doesn't mean you don't do it, that you fail. Huh? It's just that we thought with the market that we have in front of us, we can achieve it, and which is what we did. The same way we said that the 1 million to 100 million, we're gonna do them in less than 7 years, and we are on track to do it, which is good. And basically, we split the function, put efficiency in that, put process in it. I was in charge of every person in the beginning, and then after a few months, maybe a year, started to put managers, like mid managers, in between. But I stayed involved very much in the sales. Even today, I'm still very involved in that, even though I have directors and so on. But we stay very, very. I stay very close to the whole revenue organization, including sales.
I'm going to get to Marcus's question in a minute. So for those that are listening, we're getting some questions in the chat. So again, just getting back to 1 to 10 in less than 19 months. So you talk about the market, you talk about ambition, we talk about specialization. What was the secret sauce there? Was it a combination of all three things? Like it's not hugely known. Like most SaaS companies won't get to 10 that quickly. So how did Aircall do it? Was it just getting those 3 things right?
I would say it's all about the team. It's all about your first hires. Do you think those first, when you hire them, it's extremely important. You have to give them the ambition. They are the next founders, basically. I always say that because they will own the company one day, those guys. And that's how I recruited them, with the idea that, yeah, I'm gonna learn them what I know. And I can say by the time I was the most knowledgeable person, head of sales, call it as you want, but I wasn't. What I had was an ambition, was a drive to overachieve and to change forever, the telecommunication industry, so the phone system industry in that case. And so I was looking in that talent in the first hires is, will you guys be the next people that I'm going to hire for the next 6-7 years that are coming? And it's extremely hard. But luckily, I have to say, we hired those people. And recently, we celebrated the 5 years of one of my first employee, and we're going to celebrate the 5 years of other employees, etc., etc. Because those guys, you transmit them this little thing that founders have, which is the ambition of changing a little bit the world, at least on your level, but change something. And you want to give that ambition to your first hires, where they feel, okay, with that job, with that company, with Aircall in that case, I can change my life forever. And let's not only make it personal and selfish, saying, okay, I want to change my life, but let's make it, okay, I want to write history. And that's what I offered them. And luckily, of course, business was booming, things were going well, and so they see that the ambition goes with actual success, and a mix of all that with strong processes, very hands-on, a very hands-on team. So in my case, I was very hands-on. I was selling, I was doing demos until 2 million, 3 million AR. So, quite high, maybe 2 million, more than 3, but okay. So I stayed on the ground and always very close to the teams. A product that was in trouble by the time, but with a strong idea of making it simple and better than what it existed by the time. And the mix of all that somehow made it happen. And I love bragging about that, saying we kept our first employees, and today they are our best managers. They are our top level managers, and that goes along with a story saying, hey, we are building a multi-billion-dollar business with the first people that we hired. And as a founder, that's, I hope, the same for my first-time employee, that they will live the same with their first people they managed and their first people that manage, etc. And so we cascade all that all the way down to today, close to 400 people at Aircall.
Amazing. So just coming back to a point that you mentioned kind of earlier around those kind of first hires being interns, and answering Marcus's question here. So he says, what qualifies your intern as a good intern? Where did you source them? We usually start out with how driven is the person, skills come second as they can be learnt, and how much time did you give them to adapt?
So yeah, totally. Skills are less important. It's all about the drive of the person. So totally, Marcus, I agree with you on that side. And so how do you qualify a good intern? You just qualify a good intern by its ability to work. I remember some interns in the beginning were really working a lot. They were staying at the office no matter what until they reached their targets. And that's it's once you hired them, of course. But my feeling, and it's a gut feeling, I'm very gut feeling in general, but when you hire them, do you feel those people are here to do compromises, to do something different, and to go beyond what they could reach without starting in a young startup with great ambitions? If it's someone that looks for security of work, if it's someone that comes here and thinks about hours work and so on, might be tough in an early stage company. Because what will put in orbit an early stage company is the ability to the people that work in it to work hard, to be sharp, to be organized, and to not be discouraged by failures. Because failures, we've seen failures all over the place. We've failed several times. You can get really fast dismotivated. And it's so, do you feel that in that person? Do you feel that person is different and will not give up after the first fail? And if you have the ability to judge that and feel that person won't let you down no matter what, you might have those first employees there that will drive your business in the future. And it's a hard bet. I would say by the time when talking to investors in general, they were more like, okay, hire that top level VP sales. Once you're at 1 million AR, you take the best guy you find, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, you can do that. Gonna cost you a lot. That person might not adapt, might not be hands-on enough, might not want to work long hours. But it's a bet. I took the bet of investing on young people, skilled, smart, and sharp, and that want to really achieve something for them. And I think today they don't regret being part of that adventure and still staying here for the future. So it's a hard bet again.
Amazing. We're getting a lot of questions in. Just a note to those in the audience, we'll read out some from the chat, but also if you want to go in the queue to come in and ask a question on screen to Jonathan, as we have done in some of the other SaaS Engage sessions, feel free to do that. We'll probably start to bring you on screen in about 5 minutes. so after a couple more questions. I wanted to know, so once you've got that team, just in terms of what you do for training the team. So you've got all these young, entrepreneurial, driven folks that are super smart. How do you train them so that they are machines and hitting their targets?
So yeah, training is very important, and I have one advice that I think worked for the best for us. It's going to be the worst time ever for all the sales that are going to be present in the room, and I'm talking just about a simple thing, and then we're going to discuss more about training. But one simple thing, and luckily with Aircall, we have that ability, is when you do cold call, you can listen back to the calls and see what you did good and not. And same with demos, okay? Or with Zoom, where you can register and look back at it. And so it's very early. By the time we are 5 sales, I remember, 1 sales on each country. One is Spain, one is France, one is UK, blah, blah, blah. Take them in a room, and we pick 2 calls for each of them and 2 demos for each of them. So it might take you, it's a 2 to 3 hours meeting, where it's going to be a lot of sweat. You take those calls and you just put them live, and we listen. And unfortunately, very often, they're doing things that are completely out of the rules, out of even what they know they shouldn't do, but they do it because the natural is stronger sometimes. And so it's a moment where they will listen to themselves with all the other cells next to them, listen to themselves. And it's a very awkward moment in the beginning because, wow, it gets rough. You see, you hear, you do things that you shouldn't. You mess up calls. You ruin a potential lead by saying things that you shouldn't. But then you judge. You open. You listen to the call, 1 minute, 1.5 minutes, whatever, how long it is. Pick up a call less than 5 minutes, ideally. And then you first let him judge himself. Usually it's bad. He would be like, wow, why did I say that? Oh, that's rough. Then you let the audience, and then you judge yourself, and you tell him, oh, why did you say that at that moment, etc. And that, as I said, it is very painful. It's very painful. But they get out of that call stronger than ever because they realize their mistake. You will never be able to make someone realize his mistake without making him listen and see that mistake. And it's a management thing. You can choose to just look at numbers and say, hey, why do you miss your target? Oh, I heard that call there. You said that. No, listen back to the call. Go back to a call, listen again. Why did you do that? And he's going to learn things that a sales could never learn by himself. Is like learning by his mistakes, which is, I think, the best thing you can have in general. Is you do the mistake, and believe me, you won't do it again. As you guys are entrepreneurs, I'm sure you've done tons of mistakes, and those mistakes, you won't be doing them. You won't be doing them again, hopefully, for you. And so that was one of the things we were doing in the beginning. And I remember one of my first sales that came to me outside the shop was like, that was rough. I was really hot during that meeting. I was like sweating. But I got out and something changed inside myself. Something changed and changed forever. And it's funny because I did that session without expecting that, just with, hey guys, okay, let's have a moment where we listen to the calls and to the demos. And the outcome of that was people seeing their mistake in front of them and wanted to change forever because they know that what they were doing was not right, and they probably were missing opportunities or not being convincing enough, etc., etc. So that was like one of the first training, kind of. And then, but this you should do it a bit later, once you are around 7 to 10 million AR, is build a kind of sales academy inside your company. I think we built Aircall Academy when we were close to a 10 million AR. You could do it a bit earlier, where you have specific training sessions for the sales, and you make sure that everyone is at the same level, sells the same way, scripting, etc., etc.
Awesome. Yeah, I was. I guess you're going to answer my next question there. I mean, in terms of you mentioned that, like, recording those calls. Do you use Aircall or like another tool to do that? And just interested in that sales stack, perhaps that you had the first million ARR. Maybe some insights. What does it look like now?
So yeah, in terms of calls, of course, it's Aircall. Every call is recorded. You can filter them by whatever the tag you put on a call. Let's say, hey, call failed. You can then say, okay, I want to listen back to all the calls I failed or all the calls I succeed, whatever. So yeah, definitely Aircall. And for the demos, by the time we were using Hangout, Meet. So yeah, we were recording everything to make sure we have a good database. And actually, by the time Meet didn't have a recording function, so we were using a tool but now you don't have that problem anymore, just to record to the voices. And concerning the sales stack, it was very manual by the time we started with our first CRM that was close.io. It was okay. Honestly, when you're 6-7 people, it's easy to implement, very straightforward. But very quickly, we needed to change and take something else. We took Salesforce. Very hard to implement, very expensive in general, but you can scale with you. Now you have a choice. You can choose other type of CRM. HubSpot is amazing as well. Zoho, good too. So you have a few choices. Salesforce is not anymore the unique choice, I would say, and could be dangerous to take it too early, even though we still use it today. So been 5-year customer for over 5 years, almost 5 years now. But yeah, very, very basic stack. Don't over-engineer the stack. A good thing is very early to take, of course, an email automation tool, so that emails get sent automatically. You have several Growbots, SalesLoft, and several others that you will find. I don't want to advertise anyone, but a good thing is to have a cadence system that sends emails, that you work closely on your email type, test emails, make sure, hey, does this email gets more replies? If yes, let's test it on another batch, etc., etc. We had a problematic at Aircall, is that we were hunting several different markets at the same time, so in different languages, so it was very difficult to know, okay, what email gets better, because what works in French might not work in Spanish or in English. So it was tough, but yeah, email automation, test and learn, basically, and cold calling. Cold calling, it is super important. Some people would say, yeah, it doesn't work anymore. Yeah, it doesn't work when you do it wild. When you do it properly, and I hate to use the word cold call, because when we call you at Aircall, it's not a cold call. It's let's say a warm call, because we've sent you emails, we've sent you content, we've done something. Okay, you should have heard about us from close or from far. You've seen maybe ads from us, because we use we use cookies. If you visited our website after an email, that then you're tagged and that you see advertising. So when we call you, we don't do the usual script, even though you need a script, and I'll get back to that after. But we don't do the usual, hey, I'm Jonathan, I'm working for sales, Aircall, blah, 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 and I want to talk to you. No, we do it, hey, we open the questions. Hey, this is Jonathan from Aircall. Have you seen my last email? So you open the conversation. You make sure, hey, I catch you something. Oh, the last email. Which email that guy is talking about? What company is it? And you make it an open conversation, rather than that crappy cold call that I get every day. And the reality is that I don't take the time anymore to listen, because it's always the same. What you have to do during a call is different, is open the conversation. If you're the only one that talks, you just failed. If you talk 80% of the time, you failed. You need to talk 20, 30% of the time. Open the conversation, open the curiosity of the person. And yeah. So tools, I think I replied a little bit.
So you were going to say, you said you were going to come back to around the scripts.
Yes.
On the same.
So cold call, it is extremely important to have a script. And I'm not saying that stupid script that just tells you exactly word for word what you have to say. I'm talking about a structure, a script where it says, okay, you need in the conversation to mention that. You need in the conversation to mention that. You need to say that, and that. Why? Because every little word matters. In our case, for instance, what I expect is that you mention, hey, are you the right person for dealing with telephony? What is your CRM? What are you using currently as a CRM? What's your help desk? Do you have a customer service department? Cool, etc. And so you need to have the few questions. And same for the first words that you're going to say during the call. The script will tell you what you need to say. And I bet, I take all the bet with all of you here. You read, I tell you, you have to say exactly that, but you don't take a script. I make you call someone for a sales call, you will see you won't say what we said you should say. Why? Because it's like that. You're stressed. The person on the other side is cold. You're like calling him at a busy moment maybe, so it's hard. So having a script just pushes you, okay, this is what I have to say. We know that that's the word I have to use, and that helps you. So now it's not a script with 20 lines, just you talking, but it needs to have a structure of what you need to say, what you need to ask, and how you need to catch attention, basically. So do not underestimate the power of having a clear script in front of each sales.
Awesome. I'm going to now throw it open to questions. So we'll pick one from the chat. If anybody wants to come on screen, you just need to click share audio and you'll go in the queue. So it's your opportunity to ask one for Jonathan. Is there, Jonathan, is there one particularly that you want to kind of pick out from the?
So I see a few questions. So Marcus also asked, how much time did you give them to adapt? I mean, they're interns, so you give them time, but luckily it didn't take so much time. But yeah, less than a month for sure in terms of adaptation. So we have two. How did you solve the phone quality challenge? Right, that's a very good question. Whew, that was a hard time. I have to say that could have killed us, and it almost did kill us. Because yeah, when you do a phone system, when you do something with voice, no matter how good is your UX, your experience, your whatever, if the commodity, which is two-person calling, is not solved, you're just messed up and you are in a difficult situation. So in our case, we hired so much people to just work on quality and to analyze and understand. And back in 2017, so Q4 2017, we actually decided, so 3 years ago, exactly day for day, we stopped selling for a whole quarter. For a whole quarter, the whole sales team was not selling anymore. We said, okay, we don't sell. If people come inbound, we close them, but we don't put any efforts. We don't go after that. What we want is solve our quality problems. Imagine, after 3 years of Aircall, we stopped selling. Because we just knew that the quality of our service was not at the level we expect. And so our churn was exploding. Our customers were extremely unhappy. NPS was like going down and so on. And so we had to find out. So a lot of work, a lot of analysis, testing, trying new codecs, developing our own codecs, rebuilding our application, rebuilding our stack. That was a hard time. Because when you have sales team, you just hired and you explain them, guys, we don't sell. Now you're going to call the customers, understand what's their problem, put that explanation into a table that will be then used by product and tech to try to solve problems. Believe me, when you do that in a company, you are in a hard position. But we did it, took 3 months, and then we got back on track in Jan. and things were for the best, even though all our quality problems were not fixed at that moment, but at least we were more coming into something that worked better than it used to. And with our business, it is constantly our focus is to improve our quality. And I can say today, after 6 years, that quality problems are behind us just for over a year now. So not so long time ago. And that's why we always stay humble with that, because Aircall could have died at some point because of that. So it's important to be able to put the right focus on the problems you have. And it's right for product, but it's the same for sales. If something doesn't work, okay, calm down, step back, understand, and let's rebuild it again and again.
Was there any churn issues with the sales team in that period? You've got a sales team, but they can't sell, so they can't earn money essentially. Did they stay? Were they happy?
So luckily, not so much. I think everyone understood. It was not like, hey, top down and say, hey, we stop. Why? Because we need to stop. No, it was, wow, we are selling sales. We're seeing we sell. People love the product. People love Aircall. But once they start making calls, it doesn't work. So what are we selling? No one wants to be a sales that feels like someone that screws people. You want to be proud of what you sell. And at that period, we were not proud. We were growing, but we were not proud. And myself as a founder, I can't stand not being proud of what I sell. And so my sales, they have that drive, is that if you're not proud of what you sell, it means you're not doing the right thing. And that's how we adapted. And everyone understood that, okay, it's the time to change something. And we need to change it. And so we changed. And so churn was not so bad during that time. People churn,
awesome.
At least.
We got a question from Anthony Nathaniel. For your outbound prospecting, did you supplement it with paid advertisements, or was it just based on your own research as to who to call?
Yeah, both actually. So ideally, when someone was visiting the website, he had cookies, and then those cookies were pushing ads on the different websites they could visit, on Instagram, Facebook, whatever. It helps a little bit keep a track and keep the person, aware that we are there. And hey, you visited the website, maybe you were not interested, but at least you remember what we do. Aircall has to sound in your mind, and that's not so expensive, because depends if you have millions of people visiting your website. But in our case, we were getting a few hundred by the time, so it was not so expensive. But it's very it's really in your ICP usually.
Awesome. One from Isaias Miguel. We're having problems with very low response rate of cold emails and messages. Did you have this problem, and how do you work around that?
I don't know what low means. We used to have a conversion rate to cold email to closing a bit under 1%. Okay. And a response rate around 10%. Now, that number dramatically increased when we started to take care of our lead generation engine. So, if I explain it in normal words, a lot of startup, and I get emails like that every day, just extract tons of of companies, of data everywhere, and just send hundreds of emails. And it's not the good way. The sales should focus every week on 30 companies, and that's it. 30 companies, that's it. Not hundreds, 30. And 3 people by companies. Okay, find the 3 relevant spokespeople in the company and just hunt them until you get an answer. And in that case, you're going to increase dramatically your response rate, because and it's the mistake often founders will do, is you think like the more you put on the top of the funnel, the more you'll have on the bottom of funnel, and that's wrong. Unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. Is on the top of the funnel, select the best, the one that you know. Those customers, this guy can be a customer. You know it. Why? Because whatever. In our case, I was myself calling the customer support department of the company, and talking with the customer support department. Hey guys, hey, how are you? Yeah, was pretending I had an order. Hey, I spoke with someone else last week. What was his name? Can you look in the CRM? But we don't have it connected, so I don't know who you spoke with. Okay, but wait, you shouldn't be too many. How many are you? Yeah, no, we are actually 50 people, so I don't know everyone. You're 50 people. Okay, so now I know the answer. I know that company is the perfect match. So that company, this one company, I'm gonna put so much resources just to get that one company. And I did that several times. And you increase dramatically your response rate in that case. So look at top of funnel. Top of funnel is the most important. Do not think, hey, I'm not having the right email. Maybe you don't have the right email as well, but top of funnel. Usually, if your product answers a questions, it's top of funnel problems, and the bottom funnel will just follow. And if emails don't work and you have the right ACP, cold calling works. For at least it gives you the unique opportunity to have a meaningful conversation, a unique conversation. Hey, I'm talking, you hear my voice, I'm there, I hear your voice. We share something. And it's funny because that's what we did recently in our manifesto is calls. It's not only about two people that talk, it's about two people that share something unique. And at that moment, and that's what your sales should know, is that it's not about talking, it's about sharing something during that call that will make you forever in the mind of the person. And I am not exaggerating when I say forever. I can tell you, I get every month, still today, answers to some of the emails I sent 4 or 5 years ago, 6 years ago, even for some. And those people just say, I remember speaking to that crazy dude and he mentioned something, a phone, I found it again, and okay, I'm going to write him. And it's unique, and that's unique period you have is over the phone to share that. Of course, the best is even during a video call, because you have a face, and so you feel there is kind of a friendship that's born. I'm going far with that, but really I believe in that. Yeah.
Just kind of on that, I mean, you mentioned sort of the video call. So obviously I know that you use like Aircall, or your sales teams are using Aircall as you're doing the outbound and recording. Like this year, as everybody's kind of remote or gone remote, we've been forced to leave the offices because of the pandemic. Have you guys been switching to do more video calls? Perhaps probably not. You don't do it on the cold call, right? So this will probably be on a warm call. But at what stage are you bringing in video calls? How often do you use them? Or is it, just kind of interested to know around the balance of what you do, because we're all kind of like zoomed out to death, most people. So just interesting to see how you guys have done that.
No, but for us, every demo is through a video call. Every demo through a video call, you need to have the video actually, because some sales in the beginning were hiding. And you have to have a face in front of you. You have to have the right background, that we can see you properly, that you ask questions, etc. So video was always the case. Our first demos on Aircall, even 6 years ago, were done through video. By the time I was doing them on Skype, I remember that was a hard time where you were saying to a person, hey, give me your Skype ID and let's meet. And then you had hundreds of new contacts. It was not so easy. But yeah, video is part of the game. You need to do video. And with the pandemic, it didn't change so much. To be honest, yeah, Aircall offices are all closed all over the world right now. But our process stays the same. It's just that you work from home and you don't have your colleagues next to you. But no, the rest is very similar. It's video calls only, almost, beside for kind of big wells, how we call them. So kind of over 200 users where we try to go to see them. But otherwise, we were able to, as of today, to build a $3 million ARR, even more actually, in some countries, without ever stepping in the country.
What proportion of, I guess, new revenue is coming from your outbound sales team versus inbound? So, I mean, as an example, as we're talking about demos and all this cold calling and everything, SaaStock, and we've been a customer of Aircall probably since 2015, 2016, but we never had a demo. Probably because I knew, of you guys through the conference or whatever. Maybe it's a unique scenario that went, to look at the website, signed up for the product, had 4 people, bought it, no demo needed. I think actually we initially did find the product a little bit kind of technical at that point, so I did need somebody's help. But how much are you doing from outbound and through demos to what proportion of revenue versus people like me that might come in and just sign up?
So people like you are extremely rare. They're very tiny. Usually it almost never happens. And I think you were that kind of person in the early stage. You knew us. We've been speaking often, and so you knew where you were heading. But most of the people, they need drive. We need to help them even understand what they want to do and advise them on. And that's how I always coach my sales, is saying, you're advisors, consultants, more than sales, especially on inbound. And so to answer your question about our revenue piece coming from inbound, we have about 60% coming from inbound. So people coming, signing up for demos, signing up for webinars, or starting a free trial or whatever. We have about 25% from outbound. So coming from SDRs, outreaching, organizing a demo, and then giving it to account executive. And today, about 15% coming from what we call partnerships. And this is growing very fast. It should come closer to outbound level soon. But at least 2 years ago, it was the case. Coming from our integration partners. So as you know, Aircall integrates with several CRM to several help desk, several SaaS product in general. So we get recommended by those same SaaS tools if someone asks for a telephony system or a call center software that integrates with those tools. So it comes from there. We also get some indirect sales from system integrators that integrates different SaaS product, or even actually are resellers. We also have resellers of Aircall that their only business is to resell software in general, and that's how we are split it. And the indirect sales, which is the partnership, what we call it, is our fastest growing channel.
Well, I'm gonna do one final question as we come to the top of the hour, and we'll wrap up there. So you mentioned obviously that at the beginning, the early days, one book that certainly helped you as a non-SaaS guy, and not really a sales guy, was Predictable Revenue. Since then, has it, because it's quite an old book, but still, it's very valid and helpful within the SaaS industry and around that specialization story, which Aaron Ross still very much speaks about. Any other sort of books since then that you kind of recommend to the sales teams, or have been for you quite important and impactful?
The book itself, was it important and impactful?
Well, any new ones since
on the sales? No,
yeah.
I have to say, on the sales, Predictable Revenue was very interesting because it's very focused on what you need early stage, and at least what you need, and don't imagine find a magic trick. No, but you're just gonna read in a very simple way what you need to do and why you need to do it, because it's very logic. It's like not reading mathematics, because mathematics might not always be easy for everyone, but it's logic. You need that because it is like that. You need to split function because splitted function will be always better than global function, than generalist function, sorry. And so it helps you. And once you, let's say the book makes you just realize that, okay, that's logic. You know, it's not rocket science, it's logic. Once you realize that's logic, you get into the execution part where it's all about executing, hiring, training, etc., etc. So honestly, no, I didn't read any other book towards sales that brought me what predictable revenue brought me by the time, at least.
Awesome. Well, we'll wrap it up on that note. So let's all thank Jonathan for being a great guest today on SaaS Engage, and also the SaaS Revolution Show podcast.